17 from the Green Bay 14. Rogers in the gun, receivers deployed, 4 men down, fake handoff, quick throw, far side, diving catch. And the catch was made right at the 15-yard line, a pickup of 1 on the play. And it wasn't much of a gain whatsoever. So it was caught by Greg Jennings on a knee on the far side.
There was a good quick flip. It was being one of those little bubble screens with his fellow receiver out there blocking for him. But
there was a lot of motorcycles always in the family. My dad always had something laying around. I remember going to my grandparents' house as a kid, and they had all these old bikes stacked up in the backyard. I actually got one from my grandfather. It was a 1966 Honda S90. It was a great little bike. It was kind of one of the first bikes I started really getting my hands dirty on.
It's free. There's a ton of free pigs. A lot of people post pigs and all that stuff. And then there's like that 5% that are back.
I looked around the garage and I realized in all these bins and boxes that there was enough here to actually put a motorcycle together. I'd spent so much time keeping my own bike on the road and familiarizing myself with it that it wasn't that difficult to do the first one. And it was, the only difficult thing was thinking that there was some way to make a living at it, and especially after I first sold that one and profited nothing. But it too was a Honda 750. It was silver, and it was the first time where I really started mapping out bikes in my mind, picking colors, trying to see them finished. Because if I can visualize them, it's very easy to make it happen. Cafe racers and hot rods have shared similarity, which is funny because being from America, my influence has a lot to do with hot rods, but it's taken the shape of another influence, which was European-style bikes. So it's the same concept. It's truly the same concept. I think hot rodding is the American version of cafe racers in England. It's the same concept. You take materials and old machines and you try to make something either custom or cool, whatever it is that you envision. It's really the lines that catch my eye. You know, growing up not being able to really afford British motorcycles and not really knowing where to find them, there was a million Hondas laying around, and all I wanted to do was I had to figure out some way to sort of replicate what it is that I fell in love with about these other machines. When bikes first show up at the shop, there's a lot of things that usually need to just be undone with them. And we usually strip about 50 pounds of useless garbage off the bikes, put it in a Rubbermaid bin, and do away with it. There is an evolution process that takes place because the idea is to create a machine that has only what it needs to exist, to work, to run, and what's left is just a shell. Really, it's just a very often, so we'll find out. Or can you stick around long enough? Yeah, okay, cool. You got no plans, dude. It's on. We're gonna be playing poker in there too. Are you? Yeah. Being similar to factory race bikes is designing a cockpit for the rider, more or less. You have typically your feet are higher up and further back. that's for cornering to keep your toes from dragging down. You've got this cafe cowling or this seat pan that's designed so you don't slide off the back of the bike under acceleration. You've got, you know, sometimes I'll do what I call knee cutaways on the tanks, or hand-pounded cutaways into the tanks for your knees to fit in. Your handlebars, clip-ons, are low and aggressive in front of you for improved cornering and handling and stability, and the quickness and the crispness of the turns with the shorter bars and things like that. What happens when you get down to the bare bones of the bike, literally it feels like it has a personality, like it's asking for a line to be created. And that's what cafes have. There's a uniform line. And it's funny because sometimes you can look at them and they almost have a bad posture to them. There's a real trick to this eclectic scene, and the biggest nemesis is the fact that you're working with a product, with a motorcycle that's vintage in all respects, and it really has taken years to develop good resources or vendors to find all the parts that we go through on these bikes, most of which, you know, some of which simply don't exist at all anymore. But I can think back fondly on road trips. My dad and I went out to all the way to New Mexico one time to buy a couple of these old Hondas, and throughout the years, it's funny, as the more you get involved with something, the more you kind of know where to go. You have these certain resources. I like to work fast. I like to work fast because I may have mentioned earlier, I'm just a little bit impatient with wanting to see something reach fruition, to get it out of my head and onto a bike, because you dream about it all day and you just want to see it done. I've always done it the same way. I never do the same thing twice, but as I'm going along, there's an evolution that takes place. It's to form this metal into what it could be a motorcycle seat or whatever it is that needs to be designed. Even though you may be the one shaping it, it's a piece by piece kind of a thing. Except there's absolute beauty in that thought pattern, in that thought process. How to make it work with using your hands. Limited tooling, limited machinery. And you see how everything that's there is all that has to be there. There is no room for anything else. You can feel a spirit in that bike. Nothing ever happens. There's no two designs that are ever the same, so it's always a brand new experience with every bike. The passion that goes into not only building a personalized machine, but when you ride something that you've designed, when you've created your own cockpit. That's what I'm trying to do, is to create a more functional, elegant machine based upon what I was influenced from. I think it's just a different vibe. There's the burn. You're not gonna ever see this.
Yeah, that'll be great.
Yeah,
but you know what? That'll be perfect.
I know. You guys need to come down to Sugar Bears with us. We're in a bad part of LA. Yeah.
100%, you know.
Bring it back.
Yeah. It's on the dark side. Literally.
It's bad, dude. This guy, Sugar Bear, has like everything, any motorcycle part known to man. It's just,
that right?
yeah, it's one of those
it's
resources.
it's like a, we call it a,
You could check.
yeah, boneyard.
Yeah.
That's a big part of this biz, dude. Is
It is.
finding those resources.
Finding parts.
You know?
How long has he been around?
Oh,
Since
he's
the
been
dawn of
around since
time,
like the
dude.
60s.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he's old.